Hare Krishna, welcome to Krishna Book Part 3, Class 9. We read chapters 74, 75, and 76, culminating in a battle against Shalva and his magical airship last week. And we'll conclude that and continue with Krishna's amazing pastimes today after some kirtan.
So let's take a clearing breath. Inhale, sip in through your nose. Fill up, fill up, fill up. Open your mouth, exhale, let it go. Let your shoulders drop. Let's do that again. Inhale, sip the breath in through your nose. Fill up, fill up, fill up. Open your mouth, exhale, let your shoulders drop, let it go. Start with our opening picks. Take a breath in. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Balaram Ki, Shri Shri Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki, Kartik Ki, Shastra Study Group Ki, Brahma Bhakti Sangha and beyond Ki. Hari Hari.
Jnanatimirantasya Jnananjanashlakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Veshatane Vanchakalpatarupyascha Kripa Santupya Evacha Patitanam Pavanepyo Vaishnavipyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Jai. All right. We had a number of really nice reflections in the WhatsApp thread today or over the week. And let's start off with some of those. What did you hear from the last 3 chapters? I'm gonna call on Tracy to
I knew you were gonna do that.
yeah to reiterate your reflection. It was nice.
Thinking about on the way here, I think Pat Benatar's saying love is a battlefield. Life is a battlefield.
Life is a battlefield.
Rewrite the song and wrote it as life is a battlefield. But Krishna's right there, right? He's our charioteer, and we just have to remember, we have to trust. And I think all of these leelas that we're reading are very symbolic of our progression, right? And he gives us all of these examples of different, granted, none of us probably are like, I want an iron city to float in the, right? But to think about how ego drives a lot of our choices or desires, and we forget about who's given us the opportunity and who's given us these, we forget about the gratitude and the kindness and all the things that come with life and the struggles, right? And those are gifts. And I think the example, when I said I was the symbolic trifecta, right, is surrender with humility, ripen through devotion or through our devotion, and our just, I guess, resolve of the illusion that that we are this body and that we are in control of this life, is that none of it, it's, we are part and parcel of Krishna, but our whole point of life is to surrender, in a sense, trust that there's something much greater for us to learn. And Krishna's just begging us, well, not begging us, but he's there willingly, patiently waiting for us to give our heart. And we have these stories that shine light on all of the things that we could potentially do and maybe not do, because there's an easier way.
Thanks.
Then
Yeah, it's a constant, for me, it's like the constant contrast between those who are really operating from their false ego, and then we had Yudhishthir, who's like relinquished all that, and although he's the emperor of the whole world practically, he's just operating in service to Krishna. And even the whole elaborate opulent Rajasuya sacrifice was just another function of his glorifying Krishna, really. So there's that constant contrast between the two extremes. Yeah, thanks. More reflections from your readings and discussions.
I have one. I'm constantly going through my connections with my journey of being a recovering Catholic, and it was just so cool to just know that Krishna is the God of love, not the God of fear. And I learned that at the retreat 2 years ago when you gave your lecture. but also the fact that, you know, murder results in hell, whereas Krishna, uh, it just transforms. I can't pronounce the name, Sasupala.
Shishupal?
Yeah, and he's transformed. Even when you're thinking of Krishna, even in the negative way, you're honored for thinking, and you're transformed and transcended. And I found that very, very powerful and moving.
Yeah. Yeah, he's absolute. Yeah, he showed his mercy to all these different um, inimical persons who are operating from the false ego. He showed his mercy by ending their material illusion and accepting them into his own spiritual existence in some way or another. Yeah, that's remarkable. Thank you for noticing that and sharing it. Jai, any other reflections? Okay, let's jump in to chapter 77. Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Rakshamam Krishna 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 Pahimam Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshamam Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahimam. Chapter 77, the deliverance of Shalva. After talking with his charioteer, the son of Daraka, Pradyumna could understand the real circumstances. Therefore he refreshed himself by washing his mouth and hands, and after arming himself properly with bows and arrows, he asked his charioteer to take him near the place where Shalva's commander-in-chief was standing. During the short absence of Pradyumna from the battlefield, Dyuman, Shalva's commander-in-chief, had been taking over the positions of the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty. Appearing on the battlefield, Pradyumna immediately stopped him and, smiling, shot 8 arrows at him. With 4 arrows he killed Dyuman's 4 horses, and with 1 arrow his chariot driver. With another arrow he cut his bow in 2, with another he cut his flag to pieces, and with the last he severed his head from his body. On the other fronts, heroes like Gada, Satyaki, and Samba were killing the soldiers of Shalva. The soldiers staying with Shalva in the airplane were also killed in the fighting, and they fell into the ocean. Each party began to strike the opposing party very severely in a fierce, dangerous battle that continued for 27 days without stopping. While the fight was going on in the city of Dvarka, Krishna was staying at Indraprastha with the Pandavas and King Yudhishthir. This fighting with Shalva took place after the Rajasuya Yagya had been performed by King Yudhishthir and after the killing of Shishupala. When Lord Krishna understood that there was a great danger in the city of Dvarka, he took permission from the elder members of the Pandava family, especially from his aunt Kunti Devi, and started immediately for Dvarka. Lord Krishna began to think that, while he was staying in Hastinapur with Balaram, after the killing of Shishupal's men must have attacked Dvarka. On reaching Dvarka, Lord Krishna saw that the whole city was greatly endangered. He placed Balaramji in a strategic position for the protection of the city, and he himself asked his charioteer Daraka to prepare to start. He said, Daraka, please immediately take me to where Shalva is staying. You may know that this Shalva is a very powerful, mysterious man. Don't fear him in the least. As soon as he got his orders from Lord Krishna, Daraka had him seated on the chariot and drove very quickly toward Shalva. The chariot of Lord Krishna was marked with a flag bearing the insignia of Garuda, and as soon as the soldiers and warriors of the Yadu dynasty saw the flag, they could understand that Lord Krishna was on the battlefield. By this time, almost all the soldiers of Shalva had been killed. But when Shalva saw that Krishna had come to the battlefield, he released a great, powerful weapon, which flew through the sky with a roaring sound, like a great meteor. It was so bright that the whole sky was lit up by its presence. But as soon as Lord Krishna appeared, he tore the great weapon into hundreds and thousands of pieces by releasing his own arrows. Lord Krishna struck Shalva with 16 arrows, and with showers of arrows he overpowered the airplane, just as the sun in a clear sky overpowers the whole sky by an unlimited number of molecules of sunshine. Shalva struck a severe blow to Krishna's left side, where the Lord carried his bow, Sharanga, and as a result the Sharanga bow fell from Lord Krishna's hand. This dropping of the bow was indeed wonderful. Great personalities and demigods who were observing the fighting between Shalva and Krishna were most perturbed by this, and they exclaimed, Alas, alas! Shalva thought that he had become victorious, and with a roaring sound, He addressed Lord Krishna as follows: "You rascal Krishna, you kidnapped Rukmini forcibly even in our presence. You baffled my friend Shishupal and married Rukmini yourself. And in the great assembly at King Yudhishthira's Rajasuya Yagya, while my friend Shishupal was a little absent-minded, you took an opportunity to kill him. Everyone thinks that you're a great fighter and that no one can conquer you, so now you'll have to prove your strength. I think that if you stand before me any longer, with my sharp arrows I shall send you to a place wherefrom you will never return." To this Lord Krishna replied, "Foolish Shalva, you are talking nonsensically. You do not know that the moment of death is already upon your head. Actual heroes do not talk much. They prove their prowess by practical exhibition of chivalrous activities." After saying this, Lord Krishna, in great anger, struck Shalva on the collarbone with his club so severely that Shalva began to vomit blood and tremble as if he were going to collapse from severe cold. Before Krishna was able to strike him again, however, Shalva became invisible by his mystic power. Within a few moments, a mysterious unknown man came before Lord Krishna. Crying loudly, he bowed down at the Lord's lotus feet and said to him, "Since you are the most beloved son of your father Vasudeva, your mother Devaki has sent me to inform you of the unfortunate news that Shalva has arrested your father and taken him away by force, just as a butcher mercilessly takes away an animal." When Lord Krishna heard this unfortunate news from the unknown man, he at first became most perturbed, just like an ordinary human being. His face showed signs of grief, and he began to cry in a piteous tone. "How could that happen? My brother, Lord Balaram, is there, and it is impossible for anyone to conquer Balaramji. He is in charge of Dwarka city, and I know he is always alert. How could Shalva possibly enter the city and arrest my father in that way? Whatever Shalva may be, his power is limited, so how could it be possible that he has conquered the strength of Balaramji and taken away my father, arresting him as described by this man? Alas, destiny is, after all, very powerful." While Sri Krishna was thinking like this, Shalva brought before him in custody a man exactly resembling Vasudeva, his father. These were all creations of the mystic power of Shalva. Shalva addressed Krishna, "You rascal! Krishna, look! This is your father who has begotten you and by whose mercy you are still living. Now just see how I kill your father. If you have any strength, try to save him." The mystic juggler, Shalva, speaking in this way before Lord Krishna, immediately cut off the head of the false Vasudeva. Then, without hesitation, he took away the dead body and got into his airplane. Lord Krishna is the self-sufficient Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet, because he was playing the role of a human being, he became very depressed for a moment, as if he had actually lost his father. But at the next moment he could understand that the arrest and killing of his father were demonstrations of the mystic power which Shalva had learned from the demon Maya. Coming to his right consciousness, he could see that there was no messenger and no head of his father, but that Shalva had left in his airplane, which was flying in the sky. He then began to think of slaying Shalva. Krishna's reaction is a controversial point among great authorities and saintly persons. How could Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all power and knowledge, be bewildered in such a way? Lamentation, aggrievement, and bewilderment are characteristics of conditioned souls, but how can such things affect the person of the Supreme, who is full of knowledge, power, and all opulence? Actually, it is not at all possible that Lord Krishna was misled by the mystic jugglery of Shalva. He was displaying his pastime and playing the role of a human being. Great saintly persons and sages who are engaged in the devotional service of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and who have thus achieved the greatest perfection of self-realization, have transcended the bewilderments of the bodily concept of life. Lord Krishna is the ultimate goal of life for such saintly persons. How then could Krishna have been bewildered by the mystic jugglery of Shalva? The conclusion is that Lord Krishna's bewilderment was another opulence of his Supreme Personality. When Shalva thought that Krishna had been bewildered by his mystic representations, he became encouraged and began to attack the Lord with greater strength and energy by showering volleys of arrows upon him. But the enthusiasm of Shalva can be compared to the speedy march of moths into a fire. Lord Krishna, by hurling his arrows with unfathomable strength, injured Shalva, whose armor, bow, and jeweled helmet all scattered in pieces. With a crashing blow from Krishna's club, Shalva's wonderful airplane burst into pieces and fell into the sea. Shalva was very careful, and instead of crashing with the airplane, he managed to jump onto the land. He again rushed toward Lord Krishna. When Shalva ran swiftly to attack Lord Krishna with his club, Lord Krishna cut off his hand, which fell to the ground with the club. Finally, deciding to kill him, the Lord took up his wonderful disc, which shone like the brilliant sun at the time of the dissolution of the material creation. When Lord Sri Krishna stood up with his disc to kill Shalva, He appeared just like a mountain with the red sun rising over it. Lord Krishna then cut off Shalva's head, and the head with its earrings and helmet fell to the ground. Shalva was thus killed in the same way that Vritrasura was killed by Indra, the king of heaven. When Shalva was killed, all his soldiers and followers cried, "Alas, alas!" While Shalva's men were thus crying, the demigods from the heavenly planet showered flowers on Krishna and announced the victory by beating drums and blowing bugles. At that very moment, other friends of Shishupal, such as Dantavakra, appeared on the scene to fight with Krishna and avenge the death of Shishupal and others. When Dantavakra appeared before Lord Krishna, he was extremely angry. Jai. Shri Krishna Bhakti Jai. All right. Reflections on the liberation of Shalva.
I was intrigued by this line that, but the enthusiasm of Salva can be compared to the speedy march of moths into a fire. It's like they're so drawn and determined and attracted to it, but it's like they're impending
Yeah.
death.
It's inevitable.
Yeah,
They can't stop it.
right,
They can't stop being attracted to it.
right. And they don't know that it's
Moths? Not as far as we understand.
so it's like they're under illusion,
Yeah.
so it's a great analogy. Yeah, that struck me.
Thank you.
In the ways that we do that in our own lives,
Mm.
are attracted and drawn to the things that are really not supportive or helpful or real.
Yeah.
So what's
Yeah,
with all the, oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, we're just seeing demon after demon with one illusion or another, varieties of obsessive pursuits.
Right.
Go ahead, Tanya.
Not the most profound reflection in the world, but what's with all the head severings? There's a lot of lopping off of heads.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's an efficient way for a warrior to do his job.
I guess so. But they made a point in here that he was killed in the same way as Sura was
Yeah,
killed by Indra.
Vritrasura, that's a pastime that's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6. Vritrasura was actually he was a demon by lineage. Like he had like a body that was completely black and eyes and hair that were like bright red, and he was from an evil lineage, and Indra was sent to actually kill him. But interestingly, Vritrasura was a devotee at heart. And there's a whole pastime between Vritrasura and Indra in the 6th canto. And in that pastime, after Vritrasura is dispatched, Indra has to cut off his head, and it takes like years and years and years to do it. So it's a reference to that particular pastime. It's kind of famous. It's mentioned in the Vedas too.
I think it's interesting that when they're speaking of Krishna's reaction as a controversial point among great authorities and saintly persons, and thinking that, he's all powerful, and but when he shows any ounce of like human, like conditioned soul reaction, that it's like, wait, that's not Krishna. But I know that he was living through the human persona of self, but I almost think that it's written so that we, like humans, conditioned soul, can connect with him in a different way, because he is all opulent, right? He has all the powers, and he has the ability to show any emotion if he wills it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, his pastimes are relatable, and he's not out there like just doing inconceivable things on a cosmic deity scale. These are human-like pastimes. They're very sweet. Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's continue. Chapter 78. The killing of Dantavakra, Vidurata, and Romaharshana. After the demise of Shishupal, Shalva, and Pandrika, a foolish demoniac king of the name Dantavakra wanted to kill Krishna to avenge the death of his friend Shalva. They have so many friends, and all their friends are all fools like all of them.
It's more and more that want to kill him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, Shalva was trying to avenge Shishupal, and now Dantavakra's trying to avenge. Anyway,
Yeah.
he became so agitated that he appeared on the battlefield without the proper arms and ammunition, and without even a chariot. His only weapon was his great anger, which was red hot. He carried only a club in his hand, but he was so powerful that when he moved, everyone felt the earth tremble. When Lord Krishna saw him approaching in a very heroic mood, he immediately got down from his chariot, for it is a rule of military etiquette that fighting should take place only between equals. Knowing that, Dantavakra was alone and armed with only a club, Lord Krishna responded similarly and prepared himself by taking his club in his hand. When Krishna appeared before him, Dantavakra's heroic march was immediately stopped, just as the great furious waves of the ocean are stopped by the beach. At that time, Dantavakra, who was the king of Karusha, stood firmly with his club and spoke to Lord Krishna as follows. It is a great pleasure and fortunate opportunity, Krishna, that we are seeing each other face to face. My dear Krishna, after all, you are my maternal cousin, and I should not kill you in this way, but unfortunately, you have committed a great mistake by killing my friend, Shalva. Moreover, you are not satisfied by killing my friend. I know that you want to kill me also. Because of your determination, I must kill you by tearing you to pieces with my club. Krishna, although you're my relative, you are foolish. You are our greatest enemy. So I must kill you today, just as a person removes a boil on his body by surgical operation. I am always very much obliged to my friends, and therefore I consider myself indebted to my dear friend Shalva. I can liquidate my indebtedness to him only by killing you. As the caretaker of an elephant tries to control the animal by striking it with his trident, Dantavakra tried to control Krishna simply by speaking strong words. After finishing his vituperation, he struck Krishna on the head with his club and made a roaring sound like a lion. But Krishna, although struck strongly by the club of Dantavakra, did not move even an inch, nor did he feel any pain. Taking his Kaumodaki club and moving very skillfully, Krishna struck Dantavakra's chest so fiercely that Dantavakra's heart split in twain. As a result, Dantavakra began to vomit blood. His hair scattered and he fell to the ground, spreading his hands and legs. Within only a few minutes, all that remained of Dantavakra was a dead body on the ground. After the death of Dantavakra, just as at the time of Shishupal's death, in the presence of all the persons standing there, there was a small particle of spiritual effulgence that came out of the demon's body and very wonderfully merged into the body of Lord Krishna. Remember, when we heard about Shishupal's death, Prabhupada commented that Shishupal had been the reincarnation of the one of the two gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, who were cursed from the spiritual world. They came back down as, for example, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So Shishupal's counterpart is Dantavakra. That's why he's visibly merging back into the Lord. He's being reintegrated back to the spiritual world. The story of how he fell is given in the 3rd canto, and more details are given in the 7th canto. Dantavakra had a brother named Vidurata, who was overwhelmed with grief at Dantavakra's death. Out of grief and anger, Vidurata was breathing very heavily, and just to avenge the death of his brother, he appeared before Lord Krishna with a sword and a shield in his hands. He wanted to kill Krishna immediately. When Lord Krishna understood that Vidurata was looking for the opportunity to strike him with his sword, he employed his Sudarshana Chakra, his razor-sharp disc, and without delay cut off Vidurata's head with his helmet and earrings. In this way, after killing Shalva and destroying his wonderful airplane, and then killing Dantavakra and Vidurata, Lord Krishna at last entered his city Dvarka. It would not have been possible for anyone but Krishna to kill these great heroes, and therefore all the demigods from heaven and the human beings on the surface of the globe were glorifying him. Great sages and ascetics, the denizens of the Siddha and Gandharva planets, the denizens known as Vidyadharas, Vasuki, and the Mahanagas, the beautiful angels, the inhabitants of Pitruloka, the Yakshas, the Kinnaras, and the Chananas all showered flowers upon him and sang songs of his victory and great jubilation. Decorating the entire city very festively, the citizens of Dvarka held a great celebration, and when Lord Krishna passed through the city, all the members of the Vrishni dynasty and the heroes of the Yadu dynasty followed him with great respect. These are some of the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, the master of all mystic power, and the lord of all cosmic manifestations. Those who are fools, who are like animals, sometimes think that Krishna is defeated, but factually he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and no one can defeat him. He always remains victorious over everyone. He alone is God, and all others are subservient order carriers. Once upon a time, Lord Balaram heard that an arrangement was being made for a fight between the two rival parties in the Kuru dynasty, one headed by Duryodhana and the other by the Pandavas. He did not like the idea, and he tried to act as a mediator to stop the fighting. Finding it impossible, and not wishing to take an active part on behalf of either party, he left Dwarka on the plea of visiting various holy places of pilgrimage. He first of all visited the place of pilgrimage known as Prabhas Kshetra. He took his bath there, and he pacified the local Brahmins and offered oblations to the demigods, pitas, great sages, and people in general, in accordance with Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. That is the Vedic method of visiting holy places. After this, accompanied by some respectable Brahmins, he decided to visit different places on the bank of the river Saraswati. He gradually visited such places as Pratudika, Bindusara, Tritakupa, Sudarshana Tirtha, Vishala Tirtha, Brahma Tirtha, and Chakra Tirtha. Besides these, he also visited all the holy places on the bank of the Saraswati River running toward the east. After this, he visited all the principal holy places on the bank of the Yamuna and on the bank of the Ganges. Thus, he gradually came to the holy place known as Naimisharanya. Naimisharanya is still existing in India, and in ancient times it was especially used for the meetings of great sages and saintly persons with the aim of understanding spiritual life and self-realization. When Lord Balaram visited that place, there was a great sacrifice being performed by a great assembly of transcendentalists. Such meetings were planned to last thousands of years. When Lord Balaram arrived, all the participants in the meeting, great sages, ascetics, Brahmins, and learned scholars, immediately arose from their seats and welcomed him with great honor and respect. Some offered him respects by standing up and then paying obeisances, and those who were elderly great sages and Brahmins offered him blessings after standing up. After this formality, Lord Balaram was offered a suitable seat, and everyone present worshipped him. Everyone in the assembly stood up in the presence of Balaram because they knew him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Education or learning means to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, although Lord Balaram appeared on the earth as a Kshatriya, all the Brahmins and sages stood up because they knew who Lord Balaram was. Unfortunately, after being worshipped and seated in his place, Lord Balaram saw Romaharshana, the disciple of Vyasadeva, the literary incarnation of Godhead, still sitting on the Vyasasana. He had neither gotten up from his seat nor offered him respects. Because he was seated on the Vyasasana, he foolishly thought himself greater than the Lord. Therefore, he did not get down from his seat or bow down before the Lord. Lord Balarama then considered the history of Romaharshana. He was born in a Sutta family, or a mixed family, born of a Brahmin woman and a Kshatriya man. Therefore, although Romaharshana considered Balarama Kshatriya, he should not have remained sitting on a higher seat. According to his position by birth, he should not have even accepted the higher sitting position, because many learned Brahmins and sages were present. Lord Balaram also observed that Romaharshana not only refused to come down from his exalted seat, but did not even stand up and offer his respects when Balaramji entered the assembly. Lord Balaram did not like the audacity of Romaharshana, and becoming very angry at him, declared from his seat, "This man, Romaharshana, is so impudent that he has accepted a higher seat than that of all the respectable Brahmins present here, although he was born in a degraded Pratiloma family." When a person is seated on the Vyasasana, he does not generally have to stand to receive a particular person entering the assembly. But in this case, the situation was different because Lord Baladev is not an ordinary human being. Therefore, although Romaharshana Sutta was voted to the Vyasasana by all the Brahmins, he should have followed the behavior of other learned sages and Brahmanas present, and should have known that Lord Balaram is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Respects are always due to him, even though such respects can be avoided in the case of an ordinary man. The appearance of Krishna and Balaram is especially meant for re-establishment of the religious principles. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the highest religious principle is to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms the topmost perfection of religion is to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. When Lord Balaram saw that Romaharshana Sutta did not understand the highest principle of religion, in spite of his having studied all the Vedas, he certainly could not support his position. Ramaharsana Sutta had been given the chance to become a perfect Brahmana, but because of his ill behavior in his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his low birth was immediately remembered. Ramaharsana Sutta had been given the position of a Brahmana, but he had not been born in the family of a Brahmana. He had been born in a Pratiloma family. According to the Vedic concept, there are two kinds of mixed family heritage called Anuloma and Pratiloma. When a male is united with a female of a lower caste, the offspring is called Anuloma. But when a male unites with a woman of a higher caste, the offspring is called Pratiloma. Ramaharsana Sutta belonged to a Pratiloma family because his father was a Kshatriya and his mother a Brahmana. Because Ramaharshana's transcendental realization was not perfect, Lord Balaram remembered his Pratiloma heritage. The idea is that any person may be given the chance to become a Brahmana, but if they improperly use the position of a Brahmana without actual realization, then their elevation to the Brahminical position is not valid. Yeah, because the point isn't birthright, the point is qualification. And especially in Kali Yuga, the age we're living in now, nobody is really qualified by birth and training. Such a system is not intact. Everyone gets a chance to become elevated, but we see here that Ramaharshana Sutta became proud. Imagine if I'm giving class here and Balaram walks in, I'm like, yeah, what's up? You know.
Yeah,
So
like, not cool.
of course, oh, don't forget Balaram is also the Supreme Personality of God. He can see the contents of this person's heart. It's not just guessing here. After seeing the deficiency of realization in Ramaharshana Sutta, Lord Balaram decided to chastise him for being puffed up. Lord Balaram therefore said, this man is liable to be awarded the death punishment because although he has the good qualification of being a disciple of Lord Vyasadeva, and although he has studied all the Vedic literature from this exalted personality, he was not submissive in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, a person who is actually a Brahmana and is very learned must automatically become very gentle also. But although Ramaharsana Sutta was very learned and had been given the chance to become a Brahmana, he had not become gentle. From this we can understand that one who is puffed up by material acquisitions cannot acquire the gentle behavior befitting a Brahmana. The learning of such a person is as good as a valuable jewel decorating the hood of a serpent. Despite the valuable jewel on the hood, a serpent is still a serpent, and is as fearful as an ordinary serpent. If a person does not become meek and humble, all his studies of the Vedas and Puranas, and his vast knowledge of the Shastras are simply outward dress, like the costume of a theatrical artist dancing on the stage. Lord Balaram considered, I have appeared in order to chastise false persons who are internally impure, but externally pose themselves as very learned and religious. My killing of such persons is proper to check them from further sinful activity. Yeah, so there's a system of study of Shastra that Srila Prabhupada started in our movement. It begins with something called the Bhakti Shastri, which means studying the Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion, and Ishopanishad systematically and being tested on it. And after that, there's something called Bhakti Vaibhava, which is like the first two cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Then the Bhakti Vedanta, and then the Bhakti Sarvabhauma. It's like advanced studies, whole Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's like very detailed, very, and there's both formally and informally, there's unlimited opportunity to study Shastra in this movement, of course. And, one great devotee who I really appreciate leads such classes at a temple in California. And he's one of the brightest, most qualified devotees I know. And he's really made it a point that when he teaches these, when he has the graduation ceremony, he makes it really clear to all the graduates, we're giving you this qualification, and we are authorizing ourselves to take it back at any point that we see that you're not behaving with humility, because all of this learning is meant to inspire love for Krishna and devotion. And if somebody just becomes puffed up because of it, they're already disqualified, right? It's not like a material thing where it's like you go to school, you pay money, you get the grades, you're now qualified. That's it. No, your character is the proof. It's not a piece of paper. Your character is the proof. In real education, education is meant to be reformatory and purificatory of character. It's meant to bring out your inner best self. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what kind of numbers and scores you have. It doesn't really, it's not the point. So here we're seeing Balaram speak to this. Lord Balaram had avoided taking part in the battle of Kurukshetra. And yet, because of his position as an incarnation, the re-establishment of religious principles was his prime duty. Considering these points, he killed Ramaharsana Sutta simply by striking him with a kusha straw, which was nothing but a blade of grass. If someone questions how Lord Balaram could kill Ramaharsana Sutta simply by striking him with a blade of kusha grass, the answer is given in Srimad Bhagavatam by the use of the word Prabhu, master. The Lord's position is always transcendental, and because he is omnipotent, he can act as he likes, without being obliged to follow the material laws and principles. Thus, it was possible for him to kill Ramaharsana Sutta simply by striking him with a blade of kusha grass. At the death of Ramaharsana Sutta, everyone present became much aggrieved and cried out, "Alas, alas!" Although all the Brahmins and sages present knew Lord Balaram to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they did not hesitate to protest the Lord's action. They humbly submitted, "Our dear Lord, we think that your action is not in line with the religious principles. Dear Lord Yadunandana, we may inform you that we Brahmins posted Ramaharsana Sutta on that exalted position for the duration of this great sacrifice. He was seated on the Vyasasana by our election. And when one is seated on the Vyasasana, it is improper for him to stand up to receive a person. Moreover, we awarded Ramaharsana Sutta an undisturbed duration of life. Under the circumstances, since your lordship has killed him without knowing all these facts, we think that your action is equal to killing a Brahmana. Dear Lord, deliverer of all fallen souls, we know for certain that you are the knower of all Vedic principles. You are the master of all mystic powers. Therefore, the Vedic injunctions cannot ordinarily be applied to you. But we respectfully advise you to show your causeless mercy upon others by kindly atoning for this killing of Ramaharsana Sutta. We do not, however, suggest what kind of act you should perform to atone for killing him. We simply suggest that you adopt some method of atonement so that others may follow your action. What is done by a great personality is followed by the ordinary man." The Lord replied, "Yes, I must atone for this action, which may have been proper for me, but is improper for others. Therefore, I think it is my duty to execute a suitable act of atonement enjoined in the authorized scriptures. Simultaneously, I can also give this Ramaharsana Sutta life again, with the span of long duration, sufficient strength, and full power of the senses. Not only this, but if you desire, I shall be glad to award him anything else you may ask. I shall be very glad to grant all these boons to fulfill your desires." This statement by Lord Balaram definitely confirms that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is free to act in any way. Although his killing of Ramaharsana Sutta may be considered improper, he could immediately counteract it with greater profit to all. Therefore, one should not imitate the actions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should simply follow the instructions of the Lord. All the great learned sages present realized that, although they considered the action of Lord Balaram improper, the Lord was immediately able to compensate with greater profits. Not wanting to detract from the mission of the Lord in killing Ramaharsana Sutta, all of them prayed, "Our dear Lord, the uncommon use of your kusha weapon to kill Ramaharsana Sutta may remain as it is. Because you desire to kill him, he should not be brought to life again. At the same time, your lordship may remember that we sages and Brahmins voluntarily give him long life. Therefore, such a benediction should not be nullified." Thus, the request of all the learned Brahmins in the assembly was ambiguous, because they wanted to keep intact their benediction that Ramaharsana Sutta would continue to live until the end of the great sacrifice, but at the same time, they did not want to nullify Balaram's killing him. The Supreme Personality of Godhead therefore solved the problem in a manner befitting his exalted position. He said, "Because the Son is produced from the body of the Father, the Vedas enjoin that the Son is the Father's representative. Therefore I say that Ugrashrava Sutta, the son of Ramaharsana Sutta, should henceforth take his father's position and continue the discourse on the Puranas. And because you wanted Ramaharsana to have a long duration of life, this benediction will be transferred to his son. The son Ugrashrava will therefore have all the facilities you offered. A long duration of life and a good and healthy body with no disturbances and full strength of all the senses." Lord Balaram then implored all the sages and Brahmins that, aside from the benediction offered to the son of Ramaharsana, they should ask from him any other benediction, and he would be prepared to fulfill it immediately. The Lord thus placed himself in the position of an ordinary kshatriya, and informed the sages that he did not know in what way he could atone for his killing of Ramaharsana, but whatever they would suggest, he would be glad to accept. The Brahmins could understand the purpose of the Lord, and thus they suggested that he atone in a manner beneficial to them. They said, "Our dear Lord, there is a very powerful demon of the name Balvala. He is the son of Ilvala, and he visits this sacred place of sacrifice every fortnight on the full moon and moonless days, and creates a great disturbance to the discharge of our duties in the sacrifice. O descendants of the Sharha family, we all request you to kill this demon. We think that if you kindly kill him, that will be your atonement on our behalf. The demon occasionally comes here and profusely throws upon us contaminated, impure things like pus, blood, stool, urine, and wine. He pollutes this sacred place by showering such filth upon us. After killing Balvala, you may continue touring all the sacred places of pilgrimage for 12 months, and in that way you'll be completely freed from all contamination. That is our prescription." Shri Krishna Book Ki Jai. What an interesting chapter.
Mhm.
All right, what did you hear? Reflections.
I'd like to reflect on the idea of, you know, the etiquette of him. He should have stood for Lord Balaram, knowing who he was, and that there's, you know, there's this idea of etiquette, and it's really part of who the Vaishnavas are. It's part of our of what we do, you know, Krishna conscious followers. But I wanted to kind of comment on the value of the comment in there about being meek and humble.
Mm,
Humility and, you know, being meek, you know, lowers, it controls your ego, and it brings you down to a place where you can be more relatable with others,
mm,
kinder to others, communicate better with others, um, and learn more with, you know, with others, versus having your ego take over, where you think that you're better than others, you don't need others, you look down at other people. So, you know, that's the humility is such an important portion, or such an important value, that um, we need to continue to embrace and respect. And I really liked what you said about it's you know, your character is the proof of learning or graduating, not so much a degree or paper. It's really your
The
it's
qualification.
the qualification. Yeah, it's not your egotistical pride. It's the way that you are meek and humble amongst others.
yeah, thank you. It's humility. Krishna talks about it in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verses 8 to 12. He talks about the principles of knowledge, like how one can obtain knowledge. And they all have to do with character and behavior. And it begins amanitvam adampitvam, humility and pridelessness. Right? The words that block all knowledge or all learning are, I know that. I know that. And now you're disqualified. Now you can't learn anything. I know that. I'm good. I know that. And the converse is also true. The more we feel we have room to learn, the more we actually can. And Krishna directly talks about it there, that humility and pridelessness, before anything else, are principles of knowledge. No matter what else you do to accumulate knowledge or cultivate it, if you don't have those qualities, you can't actually receive it. And we can see, like, actually, Lord Chaitanya, he says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that the etiquette of the Vaishnava is their ornament. It is the ornament of a Vaishnava. It's like it actually glorifies the devotees just by virtue of having it. It's very pleasing and very indicative of their advancement. And we can see that at the level of practice, it's really part of our tradition, and really any tradition. If you look at, like, for example, every spiritual tradition in the world, I think very notably, look at Islam. They put their head on the ground, like, all the time, every day, multiple times a day. That's a very visceral thing. If you put your head on the ground, there's something that happens. Your head is now lower than your heart. It's very primal. It triggers your brain in such a way as, like, okay, I'm small. I'm, like, submissive. That's what the very word Islam is supposed to mean. It's submission before God. This is training. This is why in our movement we offer obeisances with your hands, your head. You can use your whole body, because there's a way in which your mind will follow your body. It's like if you're not humble, you can practice being humble. How can you do that? Try putting your head on the ground. I mean, what a radical move. Who even does that anymore, right? Like, put your head on the ground. It's like, there it is. That's what spiritual traditions are saying. It's like, practice being humble. And then your body will teach you that, okay, yeah, I actually have the capacity to recognize I'm small. And there's a very powerful way in which that can create further progress. So at the level of practice, we model behavior to shape us toward perfection, because we actually are very small, and it's a great place to be. We're not in control, but there's always like this, as they say, there's two wolves inside you, and one is fighting for like being the boss and the man and all that, and it's like, so we're constantly at the level of practice training. So that's why things like physical obeisances are very useful as a humbling tool. Thank you.
Yeah, sort of piggybacking off of that of how Balaram, even though he knew what his action, what his choice was like proper or appropriate or aligned for him, he understood that atoning was necessary just to model that for other people. So
Yeah.
there's really like being what he's trying to give to people, right? And sort of being that example.
Yeah.
And that requires humility to even be like, I know I did, like, I'm acting as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, I'm still going to atone here because it's for the good of others to be able to see that example.
Yeah. Whereas you look at like the attitude of a conditioned soul is that they're constantly looking for excuses
Right.
to make themselves the exception to these things. Like, don't you see I'm entitled? I don't have to follow that. That's for other people. Or like, just finding ways to justify bad behavior. Yeah. Krishna speaks about this in the third chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita. He says like, whatever acts a great person performs, so that people naturally follow. Therefore, even though I have nothing to do as Krishna, I have no duty, no obligation, nothing impels me toward any duty at all. Still, when I'm in the world, I function according to certain conduct, and so should you, Arjuna. It's a chapter on karma yoga, like dovetailing, connecting your activities in the world to service. The devotees, they perform their worldly activities in a mode of service to the divine, and that way they teach other people who are very attached just to being, just to doing things in the world. Like they teach them how to do that, but they teach them like gradually how to transform it as from an act of just like doing something for yourself to doing the exact same thing more and more for the Lord, for the Supreme, and that's the supreme education. Great. Any more reflections on this chapter? Comment in chat was, like moths to a flame, in mode of passion and ignorance, with vengeance, the friends all run right into their deaths too. Yeah.
Who said that?
Tanya said that.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go chapter 78, 79. And we're gonna get there. We're gonna have another 3-chapter day.
Woo.
The liberation of Balvala and Lord Balaram's touring the sacred places. Lord Balarama prepared to meet the demon Balvala. At the time when the demon usually attacked the sacred place, there appeared a great hailstorm. The whole sky became covered with dust, and the atmosphere became surcharged with a filthy smell. Just after this, the mischievous demon Balvala began to shower torrents of stool and urine and other impure substances on the arena of sacrifice. After this onslaught, the demon himself appeared with a great trident in his hand. He was a gigantic person, and his black body was like a huge mass of carbon. His hair, his beard, and his mustache appeared reddish like copper, and because of his great beard and mustache, his mouth appeared dangerous and fierce. As soon as he saw the demon, Lord Balarama prepared to attack him. He first considered how he could smash the great demon to pieces. Lord Balarama then called for his plow and club and they immediately appeared before him. The demon Balvala was flying in the sky, and at the first opportunity, Lord Balarama dragged him down with his plow and angrily smashed the demon's head with his club. So Balarama has two weapons, the plow and the club. This is the only pastime I know where he uses both. It's the old drag and smash. Drag, and then you like hit a home run. The smash him with the club.
The club and the what?
Plow.
Wow, yeah.
Balaram's striking fractured the demon's forehead, making blood flow profusely. Screaming loudly, the demon, who had been such a great disturbance to the pious Brahmanas, fell to the ground like a great mountain with a red oxide peak, being struck and smashed to the ground by a thunderbolt. The inhabitants of Naimisharanya, learned sages and Brahmanas, became most pleased by seeing this, and they offered their respectful prayers to Lord Balaram. They offered their heartfelt blessings to the Lord, and all agreed that none of Lord Balaram's attempts to do something would ever be a failure. The sages and Brahmanas then performed a ceremonial bathing of Lord Balaram, just as the demigods bathe King Indra when he is victorious over the demons. The Brahmins and sages honored Lord Balaram by presenting him with first-class new clothing and ornaments and the lotus garland of victory. This garland was a reservoir of all beauty and was everlasting. It was never to be dried up. After this incident, Lord Balaram took permission from the Brahmins assembled at Naimisharanya, and accompanied by other Brahmins, he went to the bank of the river Kaushiki. After taking his bath in this holy place, he proceeded toward the river Sarayu and visited the source of this river. Traveling on the bank of the Sarayu River, he gradually reached Prayaga, where there is a confluence of three rivers, the Ganges, Yamuna, and Saraswati. Here also he took his bath. Then he worshipped in the local temples of the demigods and, as enjoined in the Vedic literature, offered oblations to the forefathers and sages. He gradually reached the ashrama of the sage Pulaha, and from there went to the rivers Gandaki and Gomati. After this he took his bath in the river Vipasha. Then he gradually came to the bank of the Shona River. The Shona River is still running as one of the big rivers in Bihar province. He also took his bath there and performed the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. He continued his travels and gradually came to the pilgrimage city of Gaya, where there is a celebrated Vishnu temple. According to the advice of his father Vasudeva, he offered oblations to the forefathers in this Vishnu temple. From here he traveled to the delta of the Ganges, where the sacred Ganges River mixes with the Bay of Bengal. This sacred place is called Ganga Sagara, and at the end of January every year there is still a great assembly of saintly persons and pious men, just as there is an assembly of saintly persons in Prayag every year called the Magh Mela Fair. After finishing his bathing and ritualistic ceremonies at Ganga Sagara, Lord Balaram proceeded toward the mountain known as Mahendra Parvata, where he met Parshurama, an incarnation of Lord Krishna, and offered him respect by bowing down before him. After this, Lord Balaram turned towards southern India and visited the banks of the river Godavari. After taking his bath in the river Godavari and performing the necessary ritualistic ceremonies, he gradually visited the other rivers, the Vena, Pampa, and Bhimarati. On the bank of the river Bhimarati is a deity called Swami Kartikeya. After visiting Kartikeya, Lord Balaram gradually proceeded to Shailapur, a pilgrimage city in the province of Maharashtra. Shailapur is one of the biggest districts in Maharashtra province. He then gradually proceeded toward Dravida Desha. Southern India is divided into 5 parts, called Pancha Dravida. Northern India is also divided into 5 parts called Pancha Gauda. All the important acharyas of the modern age, namely Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vishnu Swami, and Nimbarka, advented themselves in the Dravida provinces. Lord Chaitanya, however, appeared in Bengal, which is part of the 5 Gauda Deshas. The most important place of pilgrimage in southern India, or Dravida, is Venkatachala, commonly known as Balaji. After visiting this place, Lord Balaram proceeded toward Vishnu Kanchi, and from there he proceeded along the bank of the Kaveri. While going to Vishnu Kanchi, he visited Shiva Kanchi. Lord Balaram took his bath in the river Kaveri. Then he gradually reached Ranga Kshetra. The biggest Vishnu temple in the world is in Ranga Kshetra, and the Vishnu deity there is celebrated as Ranganatha. There is a similar temple of Ranganath in Vrindavana. Although not as big as the temple in Ranga Kshetra, it is the biggest in Vrindavana. All these places have history and pastimes associated with them. They're mentioned more elaborately in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Lord Chaitanya goes on pilgrimage, after he takes sannyas, he goes all over South India. And when he does, Prabhupada's purports talk about where he goes, how you can get there today, what train station you have to go to, what happened there thousands of years ago that makes this a place of pilgrimage. So you have to look forward to that. When you start reading the CC, you can learn all about these amazing deities and pastimes. And yeah. After visiting Ranga Kshetra, Lord Balaram gradually proceeded toward Madurai, commonly known as the Mathura of southern India. After visiting this place, he gradually proceeded towards Setu Banta, the place where Lord Ramachandra constructed the stone bridge from India to Lanka, Ceylon. In this particular holy place, Lord Balarama distributed 10,000 cows to the local Brahmin and priests. It is the Vedic custom that when a rich visitor goes to any place of pilgrimage, he gives the local priests houses, cows, ornaments, and garments as gifts of charity. This system of visiting places of pilgrimage and providing the local Brahmana priests with all necessities of life has greatly deteriorated in this age of Kali. The richer section of the population, because of its degradation in Vedic culture, is no longer attracted by these places of pilgrimage. And the Brahmana priests who depended on such visitors have also deteriorated in their professional duty of helping the visitors. These Brahmana priests in the places of pilgrimage are called Panda or Pandita. This means that they were formerly very learned Brahmins and used to guide the visitors in all details of the purpose of coming there, and thus both the visitors and the priests benefited by mutual cooperation. It is clear from the description of Srimad Bhagavatam that when Lord Balaram was visiting the different places of pilgrimage, he properly followed the Vedic system. After distributing cows at Setu Banta, Lord Balaram proceeded toward the Kritamala and Tamraparni rivers. These two rivers are celebrated as sacred, and Lord Balaram bathed in them both. He then proceeded toward Malaya Hill. This hill is very great, and it is said to be one of 7 peaks called the Malaya Hills. The great sage Agastya used to live there, and Lord Balaram visited him and offered his respects by bowing down before him. After taking the sage's blessings, Lord Balaram, with the sage's permission, proceeded toward the Indian Ocean. At the point of the cape, known today as Cape Comorin, is a big temple of goddess Durga, who is known there as Kanya Kumari. This temple of Kanya Kumari was also visited by Lord Ramachandra, and therefore it is to be understood that the temple has been existing for millions of years. From there, Lord Balarama went to visit the pilgrimage city known as Palguna Tirtha, which is on the shore of the Indian Ocean or the Southern Ocean. Palguna Tirtha is celebrated because Lord Vishnu, in his incarnation of Ananta, is lying there. From Palguna Tirtha, Lord Balarama went on to visit another pilgrimage spot known as Panjab Sarasa. There also he bathed according to the regulated principles and observed the ritualistic ceremonies. This site is also celebrated as a shrine of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, Lord Balaram distributed 10,000 cows to the local Brahmana priests. From Cape Comorin, Lord Balaram turned toward Kerala. The country of Kerala is still existing in southern India under the name of South Kerala. After visiting this place, he came to Gokarna Tirtha, where Lord Shiva is constantly worshipped. Balaram then visited the temple of Arya Devi, which is completely surrounded by water. From that island, he went on to a place known as Shurparaka. After this, he bathed in the rivers known as Tapi, Payoshni, and Nirvindhya, and then he came to the forest known as Dandakaranya. This is the same Dandakaranya forest where Lord Ramachandra lived while in exile. Lord Balaram next came to the bank of the river Narmada, the biggest river in central India. On the bank of this sacred Narmada is a pilgrimage spot known as Mahishmati Puri. After bathing there according to regulated principles, Lord Balaram returned to Prabhas Tirtha, where he had begun his journey. When Lord Balaram returned to Prabhas Tirtha, he heard from the Brahmins that most of the Kshatriyas in the battle of Kurukshetra had been killed. Balaram felt relieved to hear that the burden of the world had been reduced. Lord Krishna and Balaram appeared on this earth to lessen the burden of military strength created by the ambitious Kshatriya kings. That is the way of materialistic life. Not being satisfied by the absolute necessities of life, people ambitiously create extra demands, and their illegal desires are checked by the laws of nature or the laws of God, appearing as famine, war, pestilence, and similar catastrophes. Lord Balarama heard that although most of the Kshatriyas had been killed, the Kurus were still engaged in fighting. Therefore, he returned to the battlefield just on the day Bhimasena and Duryodhana were engaged in a personal duel. As the well-wisher of both of them, Lord Balaram wanted to stop them, but they would not stop. When Lord Balaram appeared on the scene, King Yudhishthira and his younger brothers Nakula and Sahadev, as well as Lord Krishna and Arjuna, immediately offered him their respectful obeisances, but they did not speak at all. The reason they were silent was that Lord Balaram was somewhat affectionate toward Duryodhana, who had learned from Balaramaji the art of fighting with a club. When the fighting was going on, King Yudhishthira and others thought that Balaram might have come there to say something in favor of Duryodhana, and they therefore remained silent. Both Duryodhana and Bhimasena were very enthusiastic in fighting with clubs, and, in the midst of a large audience, each very skillfully tried to strike the other. While attempting to do so, they appeared to be dancing, but nonetheless it was clear that both of them were very angry. Lord Balaram, wanting to stop the fighting, said, "My dear King Duryodhana and Bhima, I know that both of you are great fighters and are well known in the world as great heroes, but still I think that Bhimasena is superior to Duryodhana in bodily strength. On the other hand, Duryodhana is superior in the art of fighting with a club. Taking this into consideration, my opinion is that neither of you is inferior to the other in fighting. Under the circumstances, there is very little chance that one of you will be defeated by the other. Therefore, I request you not to waste your time fighting in this way. I wish you to stop this unnecessary fight." The good instruction given by Lord Balaram to Bhimasena and Duryodhana was intended for the equal benefit of both of them. But they were so enwrapped in anger against each other that they could remember only their long-standing personal enmity. Each thought only of killing the other, and they did not give much importance to the instruction of Lord Balaram. Both of them then became like madmen in remembering the strong accusations and ill behavior they had exchanged with each other. Lord Balaram, being able to understand the destiny awaiting them, was not eager to go further in the matter. Therefore, instead of staying, he decided to return to the city of Dvarka. When he returned to Dvarka, he was received with great jubilation by relatives and friends, headed by King Ugrasena and other elderly persons, who all came forward to welcome him. After this, he again went to the holy place of pilgrimage at Naimisharanya, and the sages, saintly persons, and Brahmins all stood up to receive him. They understood that Lord Balaram, although a Kshatriya, was now retired from the fighting business. The Brahmins and sages, who were always for peace and tranquility, were very pleased at this. All of them embraced Balaram with great affection and induced him to perform various kinds of sacrifices in that sacred spot of Naimisharanya. Actually, Lord Balaram had no business performing the sacrifices recommended for ordinary human beings. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he himself is the enjoyer of all such sacrifices. As such, his exemplary action in performing sacrifices was only to give a lesson to the common man, to show how one should abide by the injunctions of the Vedas. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Balaram, instructed the sages and saintly persons at Naimisharanya on the subject matter of the living entities' relationship with this cosmic manifestation, on how one should regard this whole universe, and on how one should relate with the cosmos in order to achieve the highest goal of perfection. This supreme goal is the understanding that the whole cosmic manifestation rests on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is also all-pervading, even within the minutest atom, by the function of his Paramatma feature. Lord Balarama then took the Avabrita bath, which is taken after finishing sacrificial performances. After taking his bath, he dressed himself in new silken garments and decorated himself with beautiful jewelry. Amidst his relatives and friends, he appeared to be a shining full moon amidst the luminaries in the sky. Lord Balaram is the personality of Godhead Ananta himself. Therefore, he is beyond the scope of understanding by mind, intelligence, or body. He descended exactly like a human being and behaved in that way for his own purposes. We can only explain his activities as the Lord's pastimes. No one can even estimate the extent of the unlimited demonstrations of his pastimes because he is all-powerful. Lord Balaram is the original Vishnu. Therefore, anyone remembering these pastimes of Lord Balaram in the morning and evening will certainly become a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus their life will be successful in all respects. Jai. Pretty good.
Pretty good. I feel like I need a map
A map.
of all these
Of India?
places. Yeah, with all of these places on them. Because I mean, with the maps we look at here, we don't get the actual names. We just get these different variation, like
Yeah.
our version of the names. I need to like go through this chapter again and like picture in my head like his path, his journey.
I think he started from the northwest and then went counterclockwise down the west, down to the south, up to the southeast, and then up to the northeast to Bengal. I think. I may be wrong.
Busy.
The order is different.
Track.
But you can do it. You can make it a whole. Actually, my Guru Maharaj made it one of his goals when he was a monk, brahmachari. He spent a few months in South India, and he just followed the places where Lord Balaram went, and where Lord Chaitanya went, and it's like the temples are still there mainly. It's like, here it is, Kerala. Here it is, you know, Ranga Kshetra. Here is Vishnu Kanchi. Here's the Yamuna River, Ganges. Here's Kaveri, Godavari. You know, you can go. It's actually just a nice reminder that when everything else is just kind of chaotic, you can take a break and just indulge. Just invest in your own spiritual life. Just let go. Just go be with the devotees. Perform devotional activity. Go to a temple somewhere. And you don't have to go to India to do it, by the way. Any place there's devotees. This is a temple. You can go to Radha Govinda in ISKCON of Denver. The closest, yeah, that's where she is. We miss Radha Govinda. They're very merciful. You can go to Radha Manohar in Montreal. We've been there. It's a place of pilgrimage. And there's just many places like that Srila Prabhupada established for us to go. And it's just like the prerogative when life is chaotic. Even Balaram goes on pilgrimage. Nityananda did that too, who's Balaram himself again in Lord Chaitanya's Leela. Nityananda actually goes on pilgrimage as a young man, as does Mahaprabhu. So
It's fascinating to also hear, like in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Mahabharata, we know that Balaram went on pilgrimage. Balaram left and wasn't there for the battle.
right.
But then now we are where Balaram is, and he just heard that the battle ended.
Yeah.
So it's like the other
Yeah.
side of the scene.
The chronology is interesting in this section of Bhagavatam, isn't it?
Yeah. Really interesting.
We had it once upon a time before the whole Balaram thing, and now we've like shot into the future. We may go back in time a little bit too before we're done. But at this point, this is Balaram when he's witnessing Bhima and Duryodhana, his two students, fighting each other after the Battle of Kurukshetra. We know Bhima wins. Yeah. Jai. More reflections. We're not going to finish the next chapter today. I don't think we're going to start it because it's a long one. So maybe we'll just take reflections and end.
I wanted to just bring up that one paragraph. I just read it like 3 more times. It really struck me. The paragraph that talked about Balaram, after he heard that most of the Kshatriyas in the Battle of Kurukshetra had been killed, like when it goes on to talk about that Lord Balaram and Krishna appeared on the earth to lessen the burden of military strength and the way of materialistic life. And it just reminded me, Kastuba, and many other teachers talk about, okay, like we get up in the morning and then we like work to put gas in our car so we can go to work, and then we work all day and then we make all this money, and then we pay for our health insurance and we pay for this and we pay for this and we pay for this, and then we get back in the car to go to work the next day. And it's like this idea of like, ambition and wanting more stuff, and the materialistic world kind of just really takes us, it creates all these extra demands on us. And I think it's interesting to kind of like look at the Shastriyas and the Brahmanas and look at the situation that Lord Balaram and Krishna came into and relate it back to, what we're doing today. And it's, like times haven't changed, it's still there. It's just in a different form. So I just really like that paragraph. I think he summarizes kind of, the law of material life like extremely well right there.
Yeah. Reducing the burden. Because there was an overload. And as you pointed out before, and we'll point out again, Krishna's incarnation at this time is through his name. That's how he's really reducing the burden. There's no warfare that he's going to perform. It's the purificatory activities of this Sankirtan movement that are actually spreading Krishna's influence everywhere. That's legitimately decreasing the burden on the planet and the lives of people. It's just this chanting process. although it's apparently very simple.
Mhm.
That's why it has to be simple. Nothing complicated can spread. It's got to be simple. We're simple people. It's Kali Yuga. We're not like great Brahmins and trained yogis. We just we need something that can stick. We need this chanting process. So that's just like Krishna and Balaram 5,000 years ago, come in the form of this Hare Krishna mantra, spreading every town and village. Thanks. Any more reflections on anything you heard today, or questions? Any comments? Anything you'd like to bring out?
I just have a quick question. In the beginning of this chapter, um, he traveled to the confluence of the three rivers. Is that Devyaprag?
Is that David Prayag?
Yeah. I mean, it's not, it's called Prayaga or Prayag in this paragraph. It's the third paragraph of the chapter, starting with after this incident, Lord Balaram took permission from
Yeah.
the Brahmanas.
Might be.
Ganga Sagara.
Following the bank of the Sarayu River.
I'll look it up.
Gradually,
I mean, that is said to be the confluence of those three rivers, but maybe it happens in more than one spot.
yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering.
Yeah. Good question. Because you bathed there, Tanya.
I know, because I've been there. Not only been there, I was in the water there. Yeah.
Well, the Prayag is not one place.
Mm.
There are several
Oh.
Prayags.
Okay.
The Panch Prayag refers to 5. There's Prayagraj, which is the confluence of the Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati at Allahabad. The Panch Prayag is 5 other places. We went to one of those, Deva Prayag, at Rishikesh. Ganga Sagara, where Balaram went, is a site where the Ganges meets the Bay of Bengal. That's different. That's far east India, where the
Okay.
Ganges flows past Calcutta all the way into the Bay of Bengal after some deltas. And in this section, it's talking about Balaram going there, the Ganga Sagara. And he says at the end of every January, there is a great assembly of persons, just like there is a Prayag called the Magh Mela Fair. So it's like, it's not like it's not the same thing, but it's similar.
It's a different location.
Yeah, this is in West Bengal, the eastern end of West Bengal.
Good catch.
Thank you.
Okay, Jai. Any other? Hi, Samantha. Hare Krishna. Any other comments, questions, or reflections? And all right. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Krishna book ki jai. So for this week, please read chapters 77, 78, and 79. Next week, we're going to read chapter 80, which is a really cool pastime. It's a longer pastime, famous pastime. Krishna is going to come back and give us this association, the form of that pastime. And without any further ado, we're going to chant the Dhammarashtakam.
For our last time as a group,
The last time as a group,
one
Yes.
night.
Kartik ends tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to chant the Dhammarashtakam and a little kirtan. Hare Krishna.
Recording.